What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. So as you can tell, we switched to the main camera because we all know that GoPros aren't the best when it comes to filming. But here we have my 2013 Nissan 370Z Nismo, and we do have a top mount single turbo kit on this car. Now I just wanted to kind of go over in this video everything that we have done to this car and really tell you my experience with boosting a VQ. Now for the people that aren't new here, you're probably like, we already know what's done to the car. We've literally seen it come to life. Well, it doesn't hurt to get a refresher. So we're gonna do a little walk around. So as you guys can see, we have our top mount single turbo kit. We are on a drag pack. So obviously those are aftermarket wheels. Now these front wheels, they're stock, but they didn't come in the front stock. They actually came in the rear. So these are 19 by 10.5, but I believe it's a 22 offset. That's the stock specs. The reason why we put them in the front is because obviously it's a wider wheel and it has more concave. Is that a word, concaveness? I don't know if that's a word, but it has more concaveness. So we put them in front, and the fitment is spicy, as you guys can tell. So we went ahead and dialed that in. And then of course we have our drag pack in the rear. 17 by 10. I don't know the offset because you guys know that weld wheels are a little weird when it comes to back spacing and offset. We got our fitment dialed in. It has a little camber, so technically I could get that wheel to sit flush. But as of right now, it still rubs when I squat, like when I do a pull and stuff. And I think it's the reason why it does because of the bumper right here. It's not really too dramatic, so it doesn't really bother me. We moved to the rear, and we do have an aftermarket exhaust on this car. This is going to be through GT Haas themselves, and it is valve control. Let me go ahead and show you guys our little controller. So The reason why I got this exhaust is because I do live in California. As you guys know, the quickest way to get a state ref or pulled over in general is through your exhaust. So I'm gonna show you how dramatic it is when I close the valves. I don't know how much this is gonna transpire on camera, but here we go. So this is open, right? Here's closed. No, let me find out this remote died. Oh, maybe that button just doesn't work. Oh no, I think this remote is dying. Yeah, it's dying because this is supposed to turn blue and it's not. So yeah, real quick. So this is closed. This remote's dying. I'll try to hurry up and do this before it gets stuck on close. Okay, so that's closed, as you guys can tell. So it actually sounds stock. You can barely hear the car. It sounds muffled, right? And then we open it. Oh Lord. There we go. And that's what it sounds like when it's open. And remind me to change the batteries in this remote. But that's pretty much what's done on the outside. Not too much. I really feel like I can't do too much when it comes to like color on this car, because the color of the car, I feel like it would look weird. So for example, like a carbon fiber hood or fenders, I feel like would not look good on this car because of the color. So I kind of just kept it stock, minus of course aftermarket wheels. And honestly, it works for me. It looks good. A lot of people would say, oh, like black out your handles. I've seen it done. I've seen these handles blacked out on this color, and I don't like it. And it does help that I have those wheels, so it kind of like, they kind of contrast with each other. But that is pretty much it for the outside. All my money has been put inside the engine bay, but before we get into that, let me go ahead and show you guys the interior. Again, stock. The only thing that I have done, aftermarket wheel, as you can tell. We did aftermarket gauges in the stock location, looks amazing. And then we did aftermarket shift knob, we did collar, and then we did shift boot. So this is a suede boot with a custom shift knob. I don't know if I can show you the color of the shift knob. Let me get my handy dandy cellular device. It actually is like a little, what do they call it? Unicorn, I think that's what they call it. So pretty cool. And then our wheel. So this is going to be a D&D performance wheel, race wheel. We got a little stripe. It is suede. It is a quick disconnect. See if I can do it with one hand. Probably not. Well, you guys probably saw it in the beginning of the video. So it is quick disconnect, and we did get a little relocation bracket for our cruise control. Now, when I did replace this wheel, I did mess up my clock spring, so I do need a new clock spring. So right now my horn doesn't work and my cruise controls don't work along with my volume up and down. So we will replace our clock spring soon, because this is how I switch between my maps, right? So we have low boost and we have high boost. We're stuck on low boost right now, so we definitely got to get that clock spring replaced pretty soon. But that is pretty much it for the interior. Not too much going on. You can kind of still see the wheel turn even with the car turned off. So let's go ahead and go over all the parts I use to boost this car, right? So first and foremost, we have our 6266 Precision Turbo, right? Now this is going to be a turbo kit, right? I did not piece this kit together. It did come as a turbo kit. So 6266 Precision Turbo. Let's see what else. We have this is one of my favorite mods, right? So we have a 3-in-1 coolant reservoir, oil catch can, and power steering reservoir right here. That is literally my favorite mod, because if you guys remember, or if you know, if you have a 370Z, I believe the power steering reservoir sits right here. So obviously we have all of this right here, so we couldn't fit the power steering. So then we moved it to a 3-in-1 up here. That is my favorite mod. I love that thing so much. I don't know, it just makes sense, right? We have our boost solenoid right there. It's going to be connected to the wastegates. We have our fuel pressure regulator right here. I'm just trying to point out everything that looks obvious that you guys can see. One of my main things with doing this build is I wanted it to look stock, right? Like obviously it didn't come stock like this, but I wanted to be able to pop the hood and be like, oh shoot, like, you know, it looks good, you know, there's not wires and hoses running everywhere. So that was my main focus with this build, and I think it came out amazing. One of my other favorite mods that we have is our what do you call this, our vacuum block. So we have our main vacuum source coming from our manifold right here, right behind this little cover. It goes into the center, and then anything that we need for vacuum gets pretty much teed off from there. So our blow off valve, which we removed, that's why we have so much flutter. And pretty much anything else that needed vacuum. I think our fuel pressure regulator needed vacuum, and then our wastegates needed vacuum, if I'm not mistaken. And of course we have an aftermarket fuel system. So we do have a fuel return system. It is custom, so I didn't really buy it like CJ Motorsports, any of that. The reason why I didn't is because I did this when the pandemic was still a thing and all that stuff was on back order, and I was just trying to get this car boosted and like just have everything up and running, right? So I did not want to wait for CJ Motorsports to come in stock with their kit. So I do have a custom fuel return system on this car. I have a Hellcat fuel pump. I do have a twin hanger from CJ Motorsports. That is also one of my favorite modifications, because instead of modifying the factory basket, what we went ahead and did was we bought our twin hanger from CJ Motorsports, and it literally replaces the whole thing, and we hung our Hellcat pump on that thing, so it is absolutely amazing. And then as far as the fuel injectors, we do have 1300cc injectors, and that is pretty much it. I don't think I'm missing anything. A bunch of miscellaneous things like, you know, fittings and stuff like that. One thing that you guys can't see also is I had to get a 4-bar map sensor from a GTR. That thing is literally like this big, and it costed over $100. Now, when we dynoed this car, it made 580 wheel horsepower. I do not know the torque numbers. I'm sorry, I don't. I wish I did. I can probably reach out to the tuner and kind of get that. I'm pretty sure he still has it on file, or he can probably guess since he does it so much. We are tuned by admin. Now, this car still has room to progress. The reason why is because our exhaust that's on this car is a 2.5. So it's a 2.5 inch, not a 3 inch. And apparently to make 600 horsepower and above, you need a 3-inch exhaust. Now, the reason why I don't plan on switching to a 3-inch exhaust is because the exhaust that we have on this car is a valve controlled exhaust. And like I said, I am a California boy, and the quickest way to get a state ref, or to even get pulled over or get unwanted attention from the law enforcement, is to have a loud exhaust. So that's the reason why we have a valve control, so we can open it and close it when we want. So with that being said, that's the reason why we weren't able to hit over 600 horsepower. But literally, I think all that we need to do is just put an aftermarket exhaust, it's 3-inch, and we can probably retune it and go back and make over 600. But I don't really want to do that because, one, it's a stock unopened motor, so I don't have to worry about the 600 horsepower and above problems. If that makes any sense. And two, like I said, I just love the exhaust, so we're probably just gonna keep this set up until we go and build the motor. Please excuse my engine bay and it being like a little dusty. I do need to come in here and wipe things down. I like to do it every so often. For those of you who are wondering why I have a black spot on the turbo, it's because it hits the hood. So I put like this black, I don't know if it hits the hood, but I know it sits close, so I put this black little heat patch right there, and it's kind of been bleeding on the turbo. So I don't know, I've been thinking about like replacing this to a different color so that it's not so dramatic, or even like powder coating the compressor housing. Now, when it comes to my experience with boosting my 370s in Nismo, or just VQ in general, there's like 2 incidents that I can think of, or technically one. The first one was like right after I did a pull, and I saw a bunch of smoke coming from behind the car, right? And I was like down the street from my house. So then got to my house, got out, and I noticed that there was a puddle underneath the car. It ended up being the oil that was leaking from the turbo drain. So I don't know how, but obviously turbos have turbo drains, right, unless it's oilless. But right here, like right there, so I can zoom in for you guys if it will allow me to focus. Right there, you'll see that's where the turbo drain is at. Well, that somehow got loose and was leaking down there. And yeah, it was just a whole big mess. And the thing is, good thing I was down the street from my house, because that could have been terribly bad. Because the thing is, like, I saw smoke, but like I didn't know it was leaking, right? So to me, like, obviously eventually I would have pulled over if I would have saw like excessive amount of smoke. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is like all the oil could have like leaked out of here if I wasn't like that close from home, or like pulled over right away, right? And that could have ended terribly bad. So very grateful that it didn't. But all we did again was we just tightened that little drain right there, and all that was fixed. And the second incident is, which is not really an incident, but it's kind of more or less like it was like an ongoing problem at first. So how it works is, obviously it's a V6, right? So we have aftermarket header on this side, aftermarket header on this side, and then we have a crossover pipe that connects both aftermarket headers, and then we have a up pipe that connects the turbo. So everything pretty much connects to the crossover pipe. So it's like a U, right? So it goes like this, and then there's a pipe on this side that goes up and connects to the turbo. Well, since the pipe is like a kind of like a U in a way, well, it sits underneath the transmission, and so every time I would hit a bump, because this car is not that low. I mean, it's low, but it's not that low, you know, it's not like slam. So every time I would hit a bump, it would hit that pipe, and like eventually it dented the pipe. And since the pipe has like flex pipes on it, I think that's what they call it. I forgot, there's like another name for it, but it's like a little thing where you're allowed to like bend the pipe. Well, since I was hitting it kind of like this, it was like hitting the ground, it was like pulling the pipe, so it was like stretching it out. Well, eventually one of the ripples, I'm drawing a blank, I can't really remember what the name is, but eventually it kind of cracked. Not kind of, it did crack. So I had an exhaust leak, and I had to deal with that. I had to send the pipe back to get it repaired, and it was just like a whole it's kind of a hassle, because when I got it back, things didn't fit right because of the fact that one of the the bending pieces, I can't think of the name, but one of the bending pieces got bent, and since it got bent, it didn't fit right, so I had to literally take off this whole side, like the turbo, the charge pipe, all of that. I had to take it off and basically play Tetris, try to get everything back on and fit properly. And I honestly believe that's the reason why this turbo kind of hits the hood, or it sits a little close, is because ever since I did that, it's kind of sat a little closer to the hood. But I mean, I'd rather that than to have any other problem. So it kind of worked out. Again, I don't really stress too much about this. It kind of is what it is. But other than that, I haven't had any bad experiences with boosting this car, and I 100% would recommend it. You will not regret it, I promise you. Unless you're trying to go all out and make like freaking 650, 700 horsepower, and you do like the third pull and the car blows. It's a little different, because obviously if you're not going to build a motor making that much power, it's probably not a good idea. But I've been boosted for a year now, roughly around 10,000 miles. Obviously the car is boosted. I live in SoCal, so it makes me want to drive it. But before I boosted this car, because I bought this car to boost, before I boosted it, I didn't even drive it. I think I owned it for like 2 years, and I think I put like maybe 3,000 to 5,000 miles on it. But since I've been boosted, I've been driving this car everywhere because it is a blast, and I love this car so much. Let this be your sign to boost your VQ, because I'm telling you guys, you will not regret it. One of the best things I've ever done. But let's go ahead and get you guys some sound clips. And this is where I'm in today's video. There are some things I gotta take care of. I just wanted to make a quick video for you guys, but I will catch you in the next one. Peace out, stay safe, and stay tuned. Whoa. Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap like.